The government has basically postponed plans to reduce our consumption of sugar. This strategy was dreamt up by Henry Dimbleby, who is the founder of the Leon food chain, which I think sells quite sort of healthy food, doesn't it? He's trying to improve the national diet. He wants potentially a sugar tax. The Prime Minister's not going to do it. What's your view?
I feel so strongly about anything to do with food because I'm a recovering anorexic and I'm still bulimic. So I find it really sensitive. I'm fine with talking about it, but I find it really sensitive when people go on about sugar and, you know, calories on menus and things like that. I think as parents, we need to be watching what goes in our children's mouths. I don't think that the government need to make a law about it. I think, you know, I just think that I do my children's diet and my children aren't obese because I know what they should and shouldn't be eating.
Let me guess, it's based around real food?
Yes, absolutely. Like, you know, I'm fine with my children having a takeaway as a treat once every couple of weeks. You know, if we go past a fast food chain restaurant on our way back from football after they've just burnt, you know, and they've exercised, I've got no problem with that. So I find it, you know, I just find all this restriction very hard to manage myself. You know, I just think that parents should educate themselves and feed their children as they should be fed. You know, if you've got a fat child, it's your fault.
Wow. Usually if you've got a fat child, you are fat yourself. If the vast majority, 90-something% of fat children have fat parents.
Yeah. And Nicola, my view is, because I'm a libertarian, I think that people should just live their lives as they so wish. Yeah. But we do have an obesity epidemic, and I think it's a great failure of our society that our children are getting fatter. I feel we're letting them down.
Well, I feel like, you know, people that overeat normally have emotional issues. You don't choose to just be fat. You know, there's this really, you know, people think, oh, they're just fat and lazy. You know, it's the same as being anorexic as obese. You know, you're mentally unwell. So I feel like we should put more into mental health than worrying so much about the food, because if someone's mental state is right, obviously there's people that do just overeat, but normally they don't. So I think kids need to be taught, and there needs to be more in schools about emotional eating and emotional support.
Yeah, I think that's very wise, and I think it starts with kids, doesn't it, Neil?
Yes, but, you know, I have great issues with the government looking at our diets and telling us what we should and shouldn't do. You know, Boris Johnson is the head of this government. He looks pretty well upholstered. I'd like to know what his body mass index is to start with.
Not good. He's not one to preach, is he?
The temerity to start telling everybody else what they should eat and shouldn't eat. I'm all for education and giving people information. I've no real problem with putting calories on menus and so on. So that's all part of people's decision-making.
I think you won't have a problem with calories being on menus because you don't have an issue. But for someone like me, I won't look at a menu now. So I have to give my husband the menu and say to him, you pick me something to eat, because if I see the calories, I won't eat it.
Yeah. Or you'll eat it and you will try to get rid of it.
So, you know, I think that there should be a choice, that you should be able to go into a restaurant and say, can I have a menu without calories on it,
I quite agree,
please?
but I think
because there is quite a lot. I mean, there is a huge eating disorders. The statistics are so high. You know, I'm not alone.
My 16-year-old son, it's not scientific or a proper poll, but he goes to a co-educational state school, and he's called it an epidemic among his female peers.
Yeah.
What of anorexia?
Eating disorders, yeah. Epidemic.
And it's not just anorexia, it is the bulimic, and then there's the overeating as well. So, you know, I understand why they've put calories on menus, but trust me when I say it's going to put so many people into relapsing.
Also, I mean,